Hi everybody, welcome to our Backyard Explorers program. My name is Janine and I'm a naturalist with Summit Metro Parks, but I'm also an entomologist. Now if you watched our last video, you know that an entomologist is someone who studies insects. So today, I am going to teach you about how to find insects in your own backyard. Whether you live in the city, in the suburbs, in an apartment, or anywhere in between, I guarantee you there are insects living near you. Now they can be hard to find. Some insects like to hide or they camouflage and blend in really well, but we're going to teach you a few ways to find insects in your backyard. So if you're ready for a bug hunt, let's get started. So first up, we have to talk about the tools that an entomologist uses to catch insects. So what do you think would be an important tool to have to catch a bug? If you said net, you're correct. Now, there's lots of different types of nets for catching insects. There's one like this that is thin and wispy, great for catching butterflies and flying insects. Next up, we have a net made of cloth. We call this a sweep net, and we use it to sweep through the tall grass to catch bugs. Like that. Didn't catch any this time. Then our third type of net is called a dip net. You can remember it because it looks like the letter D. And we use this one for dipping in the pond and catching aquatic insects. Now once we catch our insect, where are we going to put it? A bug jar. There are lots of different types of bug jars. This one I like especially because it has a magnifying lens on the top that allows me to see my bugs up close and holes to allow my bugs to breathe. Now if you don't have a fancy bug jar like this, no worries, because anything around your house can be a bug jar, like this old peanut butter jar. Perfect for catching bugs, and you can make holes in the top to let them breathe. Now when you have a bug in a jar, it's a great opportunity to get a nice up-close look. You can do that with a magnifying glass. So this is a really fun tool that allows you to see up close. So I invite you to hold your insect and move that magnifying glass to get a nice, good view of it. So what if you don't have any entomologist tools whatsoever? Not to worry. We are going to show you a tried and true method of finding insects, log flipping. So if you find a log, maybe out in your yard or the woods, you can gently flip it over and see what's living underneath. Now I can hear some of you saying, I don't have logs in my yard. That's fine too. It could be a brick, a flower pot, maybe even a toy that you forgot out in the grass last night. Anything that makes a nice dark place for insects to hide. So let's go check out a few and see if we can find some bugs. All right, so here I've found an old piece of bark that's fallen in the yard. So I'm gonna gently lift it up and see what we might find. Wow! Look at this! We've got an insect party! So we've uncovered an ant colony. You see the black ones are adult ants. They're running around. And here you can see them carrying their larvae, so they're babies that aren't quite adults yet. Now we also see some things that are not insects. Here we have a couple of slugs, and here we have an earthworm. Also not an insect because they have no legs and one big long body part instead of 3 different ones. Very cool. Now, the most important rule when we're flipping logs or anything else in our yard is to make sure we put the roof back on the house. So let's say goodbye to our friends and put the roof back. All right, so rather than going out and catching insects, another thing that you can do is invite the insects to come to you. Now, I have 2 ways of doing that. One is to create an ant picnic. So the next time you eat lunch, keep a couple of scraps left over. So those could be any sorts of crumbs, maybe a piece of the bread from your sandwich, a chip, a piece of candy, anything left over, and put those small items on the sidewalk or the driveway near your house. And then Go back out every 10 or 15 minutes and check to see what sorts of critters you might find. Now you may see that some insects like one food more than the other, and that's what scientists do. They repeat their experiments multiple times. Now another way that you can invite insects to you is by creating potato traps. You can either take a potato, slice it into pieces, and leave them around your yard, or you can even create a potato trap. What I did here is I cut a potato in half, I hollowed out the inside, I left a small opening for the insects to get inside, and I closed it back up with some rubber bands. Now we're going to take these potato traps and leave them on the ground. I'm going to place mine right here beside the wood pile, and we're going to come back in about 30 minutes and see what we find. Alright, we're back to check on our potato traps. Let's see what we've found. I'll bring them closer to you. Oh boy. So on this slice of potato, we have a small ant. He's running all over the place. Now we're going to check inside our potato trap. Open it up. Look at that! We've got roly-polies! Now some folks call these potato bugs, some call them pill bugs, but whatever name you use, they are incredible little creatures. Now you notice as soon as the roof was gone, they took off because they love to be in dark places. Now these are not actually insects. We can tell because they have way too many legs and body segments. But these little guys are more closely related to crabs and lobsters because they are crustaceans. And the reason they love this potato trap is because it gives them a dark, wet place that helps them breathe through their gills. Very cool. I'm going to go put these guys back where they belong. So one last activity that I want to invite you to try requires a little bit of patience, but it's to watch a flower. So I invite you to find a flower in your neighborhood or in your own yard and stay very still and quiet for 1 whole minute. Now if I do this, I start to notice little insects moving around. Now it's begun to rain outside here, so we might not see any now. But next time you're out, look for things like beetles and flies, butterflies and bees, because insects and flowers are best friends, because insects act as pollinators, and they help move that fuzzy yellow pollen from one flower to the next. And when they do that, it helps the plant create seeds and ultimately create brand new plants. Very important stuff that insects do for us. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on our backyard insect finding extravaganza. I invite you to now go out and find some insects in your own yard or in our Summit Metro Parks. And when you do, you can share your findings with us on social media using the hashtag @HomeInNature. And you can also find more content like this on our website and on our social media pages. Thank you again. Summit Metro Parks, we're your backyard.